You might remember my video last week about Valve killing off physical Steam gift cards. And if you hadn't seen it, you should. Links in the description. As usual, it attracted exactly the type of comment I knew it would, and one particular viewer, going by name Timebox, which, judging by use of numbers, tells you generational intelligence at lad, he was first to show up and completely missed point about accessibility by saying, "How are anyone supposed to buy from Steam without internet access?" Mate, Nan doesn't need internet. She nips to Tesco and buys physical card. Timmy has internet. That's literally what entire video were about. But then same person came back with this absolute gem. Valve may not be perfect, but Steam did set standards to where other companies can't screw us over as much as they want to. Sounds like, Valve sets standards to protect consumers. Valve is your friend. And that's why I needed to make this video. Because while you're out here defending Valve like they're your best mate from school, courts across 3 continents are actively suing them for anti-competitive behaviour that directly harms you as a consumer. So let's talk about what your best mate, Valve, has actually been up to. Alright, you lot. Here's what's happening right now in 2026, and most don't even know about it because they're too busy arguing in comment sections about how great Steam is. In Netherlands, a consumer organisation called CCC, backed by Game Claim, filed a €220 million class lawsuit against Valve on June 12th. That covers every Dutch person who bought a PC game through Steam or a competing platform since 2013. In the United Kingdom, a £656 million class action was certified in January this year, brought by digital rates campaigner Vicky Shotbolt on behalf of 14 million UK Steam users. And, for any Brit watching this, that lawsuit will opt out, meaning if you bought games on Steam between 2018 and 2024 and you're in UK, you're automatically included unless you opted out before June 11th. That deadline's passed, so if you didn't opt out, congratulations, you're suing Valve whether you knew it or not. And over in the United States, Wolfire Games filed an antitrust suit back in 2021, and that's now been certified as class action covering roughly 32,000 developers. Bloomberg ran a major piece on this a few weeks ago, calling it Valve's antitrust reckoning, and it's real litigation in real courtrooms with real evidence. But what's this all about? Well, it's not about 30% as many believe. Most storefronts charge around 30%, from PlayStation to Xbox to Apple to GOG. If it were just about a cut being too high, they'd all be docked together. This is about what's known as most favoured nation clauses. For anyone who doesn't know what that means, it's basically a contractual agreement where Valve allegedly tells developers, if you sell your game cheaper on any other storefront, we will remove your game from Steam. And this isn't speculation. Court documents from Discovery have produced actual emails from Valve employees proving this. Ubisoft tried selling a $15 starter pack for Rainbow Six Siege on their own Uplay store, and according to those court documents, a Valve employee threatened to delist all editions of Siege from Steam by end of tomorrow. Not next week or after a meeting, just straight up tomorrow. Now, when you control roughly 75 to 85% of PC game distribution, that's not a polite suggestion. That's a full-on coercion. And it's not just Ubisoft. Back in 2017, Warner Bros. Were preparing to launch Middle-earth Shadow of War, and Valve employee Kassidy Gerber told them pre-orders had been pulled from Steam because pricing was significantly higher than what were available to other retailers. David Haddad, president of Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment, reportedly called Gerber almost immediately to sort it out, because when Valve calls, you answer, or your game disappears from the biggest storefront on the planet. But it's really interesting bit. When Gerber was deposed, she denied Valve as any formal pricing policy, said it sounded too bureaucratic. But a lawyer for plaintiff said to her with her own words, a direct quote from an email where she told a developer, Steam's policy has always been to require material parity for things we sell on Steam Store. So, question is, which is it, Kassidy? No policy, or a policy you've been enforcing for years? 'Cause it can't be both. And even Gabe Newell, big man himself, testified in a 2023 deposition that Valve don't pressure developers on pricing. Yet his own employees' emails from his own company say otherwise. And that were under oath. And before anyone says, well, that's just developer stuff, don't affect me as a consumer. Yeah, it does. If a developer wants to sell their game for 10 quid on Epic, 'cause they only take 12% cut, but Valve says, match our price or we'll pull you from Steam, that developer has no choice but to charge same price everywhere. You, consumer, are paying more than you should because Valve won't let anyone undercut them. That's anti-competitive. It's pricing control by a company with a near-monopoly market share. And courts in 3 separate countries have independently looked at this evidence and said, yeah, there's enough here to go to trial. These aren't your standard frivolous lawsuits. They've survived motions to dismiss, passed certification, and are heading for courtrooms. So with all that in mind, going back to those comments, it's a perfect snapshot of why these lawsuits need to exist. Our Twonk, Time Fox, says, Valve set standards to where other companies can't screw us over as much as they want to. But here's what Valve's standards actually look like. They fought Australian consumer law for years after ACCC sued them in 2014 over the refusal to offer refunds. Valve's actual legal defence was that they weren't operating in Australia and that games aren't goods. The court told them to do one, fined them $3 million Australian dollars, and Valve appealed all the way up to High Court and lost. Every single level of Australian legal system told them they were wrong, and they fought it every step of the way. Steam's refund policy, one that people praise Valve for, only exists because the court forced them to create it. That's not setting standards. That's being dragged kicking and screaming into basic consumer rates by a judge. And it gets worse than just our Twonk. Because when news broke about Dutch lawsuit on X, a fella called Ren posted, if you're going to go after Steam for 30%, you'd have to go after PlayStation, Xbox, Apple and GOG too. And yeah, Ren's right that they all charge 30%. But that's not what lawsuits about. And what I spotted in those replies were pure gold. A bloke called Master Darkside jumped in saying, Steam into monopoly. People choose Steam because it's better. Then in his very next breath said GOG is bare bone and Epic sucks. And that he actively supports GOG having more games. Mate, you just described why anti-competitive behaviour is a problem while arguing it isn't one. If Valve threatens to delist games whenever developers try to offer better deals elsewhere, GOG will never have more games. You're asking for something that Valve's practices are actively preventing, and you're too fucking blind to see it. And then there's Spyros Dragovich, and this one's my absolute favourite because he made Valve's anti-competitive case for him without realising it. He says, why should Valve host a game that won't get bought because it's cheaper somewhere else? Read that again, slowly. What Spyros just described, word for word, is price-fixing enforcement. Why should Valve host a game that's cheaper elsewhere is not a defence of free market competition. What we have here is literally a consumer arguing that a dominant company should punish developers for daring to offer lower prices on other platforms. Forget capitalism, we've got a protection racket occurring. And you're fucking cheering for it. This is what pure consumer tribalism does. Valve has turned its customers into unpaid PR. You defend them in comment sections, attack anyone who criticises them, dismiss lawsuits backed by actual court evidence as frivolous, and through all of that, while you're being a grade A simp for this billion-dollar corporation, Valve is in courtrooms across 3 continents having their own employees' emails read back to them, showing exactly how they've been controlling prices and threatening developers for over a decade. They killed physical gift cards and you're thanking them for it. They're being sued for inflating game prices and you're saying, but Steam sales are great. You're defending a company that, according to court evidence, has been making you pay more for games than you should have been paying this entire time. And you're doing it for free. And to point about just use PayPal, in some countries, PayPal has been pulled from supporting Steam completely. So that option is out for them. In regions it is still supported, it still doesn't necessarily work. I've been unable to use my PayPal for any Steam purchase since early 2025, despite living in a supported region. Which basically means that either system's broken or there's a transparency issue that needs addressing. Either way, that's not exactly actions of a company who are supposedly consumer friendly. And look, I like Steam. I got well over 8,000 games on my Steam library. But liking a platform don't mean you should be blind to what company behind it's doing. You can appreciate product and still hold company accountable. In fact, that's exactly what you should be doing. Because if these lawsuits succeed, you're one who benefits. Lower prices, more competition, developers free to price their games however they want on whatever storefront they choose. That's a better market for everyone. But instead of supporting that, you're citing comment sections defending a corporation's right to charge you more. Wake fuck up! And if you like this video, YouTube says you'll like this and next. So go check that out, and I'll see you there, you magnificent